I hope you guys are having a good day. Happy Saturday. My guest is here. He's having some technical difficulties, but for the meantime, if I could go with the actual 30-second introduction. All right, guys. Hope everyone's having a good day. Happy Saturday. I have Tom over here. I haven't put him on my screen yet. He's back. I don't know what happened to Tom. Give me a second. Let me bring him on. Let me bring him in chat. Hey, Tom.
Hey, what's up, Kev? Good to see you, man.
How you doing, man? How's everything?
Good.
How's your Saturday?
What's up?
How's your Saturday?
Good. Yeah, just getting the day started here, and excited to be on with you today.
Awesome. So, Tom, I tell people that an interview is supposed to be an interview, not an interrogation. But that's just a quote from me. But I'd like to know a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And just tell me a little bit about yourself, and I guess how you got into IT.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So, I guess how I got into IT, or kind of, how I got into, technology was at an early age. My dad was an engineer at Caterpillar, right? So he was actually he was kind of a design engineer designing bulldozers and equipment and such. So I kind of got fascinated by his ability to kind of design things and then turn them into reality, right? So he would also design like little aircraft out of balsa wood, and he would like make them, and they'd be really good. So I'm like, hey, I want to kind of be able to do those kinds of things. And then when I was, about 12 or something, a buddy of my brother's came over to the house, and he showed me this little pocket calculator that he had made by himself from designing a little circuit with some soldering wires and chips and things. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I would like to be able to do that, right? And so he coached me a lot. Like, he gave me little projects to do, and I built stuff. I learned how to research, how to read circuit diagrams, and how to build stuff myself and make it work. Obviously, a lot of times there were many fails along the way. And then I sort of, when it came time for me to look for a job, my dad, again, he said, Tom, do you want to go to college and go and do a 4-year degree and read from the books and all that stuff? And I said, I know I can't do that very well, right? I'm more of an experiential learner. So a friend of mine was in the New Zealand Air Force. So I thought, hey, let's go talk to Air Force recruiting and see what they say. And then they said, hey, this is great. You're doing all these projects. You kind of have mechanical capability. You have electronics. We think you might be a good fit for avionics. So this was when I was 17. And so I enlisted, left home, went to a different city, and, started my career with a combination of, hands-on work and the schooling that they give you there. So that's kind of how the whole thing started.
It was funny. It's funny because we had this conversation yesterday about how you learn and how I learn, and how we're not like other people that are able to read books. Like, we're very hands-on. So literally, like, one of the things for me is like, I have to physically do it in order for me to learn it. And then you're the same way. Like, literally, like, you have to physically do it. So we learn that way. I can't just watch a video and learn it on the fly. It doesn't work that way with me. So
I mean, again, the thing is that I remember also I used to play music, right? I used to play violin, right? So when I played violin when I was a little kid, they had a method called the Suzuki method, which, like, hey, Suzuki's a motorcycle. Well, that's true, but also they used to make instruments, right? Mm-hmm. They had a method where the teacher would actually help teach the parent how to play a little bit too, and then they would play something, and then you would listen to it and try to make the same sound, right? That was the beginning of the experiential learning. And then they said, Tom, you can make a great sound. You have talent. Now it's time for you to go to school and learn music theory. And they handed me this book, and I looked at it. No, I can't do this, right? I just can't. I tried, I just can't do it. And then now, I have ADHD, right? I have ADHD, and I was never diagnosed when I was younger. I just knew that I always struggled with certain kinds of things. Now I got diagnosed, and I'm obviously, getting some professional medical help with that. Things are much better, right? Much better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in the IT, in the cybersecurity space, there are a lot of people that are neurodiverse, a lot of people that are not diagnosed, and they struggle with certain things, and they get pressured, they feel pressured. I also just want to pick up on that a little bit too, because it's so important,
No, I 100% agree with you. Like, a lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people don't talk about their personal battles that they have getting into IT and cybersecurity. Other people don't talk about their mental health as well, because we deal a lot with mental stress while being in IT or while trying to get into IT.
Yeah.
And that's another conversation that we could talk about that for hours and hours and hours.
Definitely.
Because there's a lot of people that do suffer from one thing is do suffer from social anxiety because they don't like talking to people. Let's just be real. Like, a lot of IT people do not like to talk to other people.
Yeah.
And it's very uncomfortable for you to talk to somebody. And that's the other thing, Tom. And I was able to have a conversation with you, Tom, but sometimes you have people that are in IT that they don't know how to engage and socialize. And the cool thing about you and me, though, is that I met you through a conference event, and then I was able to talk to you, and we were actually able to get along. But it's not like that for everyone. I'm just saying, like, some people go to the conference events, and this is just my question to you. Like, I'll answer this question too. But like, what's your advice for someone that is going to a conference event and they have social anxiety and they don't know how to talk to them? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, Kev. The first thing I'll just take a step back here. So social anxiety it's important to understand why people have social anxiety and where that comes from. Because once you understand where it's coming from, you can start to work on it, right? And so, and so if I may go there a little bit, I just want to go there if I may, right? Reasons for social anxiety. It's weird. Like, I don't really have a lot of social anxiety. Kev, you've probably gotten to know me a little bit. You probably realize that. But I also have anxiety about some other things, right? Other things I have anxiety about, right? So, anywho, cause of anxiety can be circumstantial, can be environment. You may have never been in an environment where you were supported and encouraged. You may not have been in an environment where people were willing to listen to you without judgment, without criticism, all these things. You may just have a natural tendency to be a little bit introverted. And so those things are what makes it difficult for people with a social anxiety, right? So methods of coping with that are things like try to, go to the event, right? You don't have to like talk to everybody and all that, right? If you go to the event, most people that are like exhibiting or at the event, especially the exhibitor, people that have the tables and such, they're going to be interested in talking to other people. And then most people can be sensitive to, like, you come up and say, hey, I just want to find out what's going on. They'll start talking with you. And then, if they're sensitive to you, then they'll pick up that you may not be very confident on questions. But so I would just say, try to get started with somebody that appears to be a little bit open to you. And the other thing you can also do is just take one of your trusted friends, right? So take one of your trusted friends so you're not alone, right? And then also, like, even through this, like, Kev goes to so many events, I go to events. If you have a friend there that I say, hey, let's meet up at this event. Let's just get together, get comfortable, and then just start talking to people as you feel comfortable. How does that sound?
No, that sounds right. That's like one of the things I tell people to do is go to virtual social events where you can actually talk to people. That's one thing. Just to practice and how to talk to people, because a lot of people that I know are super duper smart in IT, but they don't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And that's another problem, because like you have to know how to interact and talk to executives and C-level folks, and learning how to build a conversation with your team members, people that are on your team. So it's important to know how to talk to people. That's something that I stress the living hell out of. And then the other thing is too, this is just what I always talk about. If you could join Toastmasters, I would definitely recommend you take a chance on that and learn how to talk to people, and it actually gives you the opportunity to pitch yourself for a couple of seconds and give yourself a 30-second pitch, and you could talk and present and do all that good stuff, and actually gives you an opportunity to talk to people. But not only that, it actually makes you feel a lot better. It builds it's a confidence builder. So basically, you go into those things and you feel a lot better because I'm very, Tom knows I'm very sociable. I love to talk to people, but because I worked in restaurants, I'm not the same as other people. Maybe people come from like a gaming background, like playing video games, or someone is, I guess, like me, like how I was when I got into IT. Maybe they're considered a nerd, right? They're a nerd and they're not good with talking to people, right? So it's just like, why not, right? Go talk to people and see what happens. And I told Tom this thing the other day. It's like it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Yeah,
that's very important as well. Like, you want to make sure you social. You don't gotta be that person that talks to everyone in a conference event. You could just go and talk to one or two people, and that's it, and then call it a day after that. And then you slowly but surely you open up with other conference events, and that's it. That's my conversation, or that's my answer to that question.
Yeah, and then the other things I'll throw in there too is, firstly, you have to be okay with being yourself, right? You are who you are. You have to be your natural self. People can very quickly tell if you're trying to be something you're not, and people will respond very well if you're just genuine. Say, hey, I'm such and such. What are you interested in? Say, you can ask some questions, opening questions like, hey, what's on your mind? What are your thoughts about cyber? Or what are your thoughts about IT? What are some, ask them to open-ended questions and get the other person talking first. That's always a good tactic. Feel good about yourself, be your natural self. People, and just feel like you're okay. You're okay just the way you are. Be okay with it. The other big one is just, if you come across just authentically and as yourself and say, hey, I'm just interested in learning. If I can help you, I'd love to help you in some way. You don't have to feel obliged to do it, but just be genuine and be yourself. And then that way you'll be comfortable. And then that way, when you're interacting with people, that will start to build that relationship, because they know they can trust you to be genuine and yourself. And then, okay, I know where this person's at, right? I mean, what do you think, Kev? How does that?
No, I 100% agree with you. Like, if you're a genuine person and you care about other people, or you just be yourself, like, people will realize that you don't have to be you don't have to be a robot. Like, people see when you're real and not. And there's people out there that I guess you don't gotta pretend to be something you're not. Just be yourself, and that's very important. And that's why I like having these conversations, because every person that I meet has their own unique personality that makes them unique, right? So that's the cool thing about talking to people, because you have your own story on how you got into IT, but also you have your own unique personality. And it's something that we talk about, Tom. Like, it's pretty cool because, like, you have your own way of thinking, I have my own way of thinking. And when we go and talk to each other, we throw ideas at each other back and forth, because we have our own thoughts and processes in the way we do things, right? So that's a pretty cool thing about that, when you have your own unique personality. So
yeah, and that's important, because again, IT and cyber are such, it's such a diverse area, and the key thing is, you are going to be the most effective and the most comfortable, the most happy if you're doing what works for you. Whatever is going to be a good fit. And then the way you find out if something's a good fit is you have to just try different things, right? You have to meet people, talk about things, take a job, work with your manager to build a relationship, work with your manager and talk about things that you'd like to do and things you're struggling with, and ask your manager for advice and help. And if it's a good manager, they'll do that. Now, unfortunately, sometimes there are managers that may not be comfortable doing that themselves, and they may not be very good coaches, and that happens too, right? And so it is a case of, like IT, like cyber, like doing anything, it's like, try a little bit, see whether you want to continue or go in a different direction, and that's okay,
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree with you. And I was going to ask you, Tom. So, I guess what motivated you to get into IT cybersecurity? Like, what was like, man, I gotta get into this IT stuff. Like, let's go into it. Like, what was that? What was that one moment that you realized that you actually like doing IT? Because a lot of people go into IT or cybersecurity and they do it for the money, right? Some people do it for the money. I'm gonna be honest with you. But then other people, they actually do it and they're like, yeah, this is for me. I love doing this. I definitely can see myself making this a career. Like, what was the motivator for you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. So, you know, especially people with ADHD, they get bored very easily, right?
Yeah.
They get bored very easily. So I do very well in situations where it's very dynamic, where there's always new things to learn, to be able to do your job. You know, I like solving problems, right? So I like, you know, getting into a situation or being in a situation where I have to try to figure out how, you know, firstly what we're trying to do, right? The problem solving. Let's first try to figure out what we're trying to do. Why are we trying to doing it? And what does the outcome look like here? And that's sort of where it starts. And then I sort of put that, and then I say, well, I'm here right now. How do I make incremental process and get over there? Right? Just sort of like, I mean, it's like so. Those are some just qualities I have in my personality, and so then that sort of drives, you know, like in the last few weeks or months or two, I've had a great interest in learning private AI, right? Running local, you know, private open source large language models. So I just felt that I could see potential in doing that. But it was a huge learning curve for me at many levels, right? But I just like, hey, this makes sense. I feel it makes sense. So I just, you know, talk to people, watch YouTube videos, learned how to do it. And now I'm actually able to deploy this, you know, private, open, you know, sort of large language model thing here and figured out how to do some stuff. So it's kind of, you know, it's different for everybody. You just have to kind of figure out what you like doing, whether you like new tech, whether you like a certain kind of tech, or whether you like, you know, policy or reviewing things or auditing things, and just try doing some of those things, and seeing how that works, you know?
Yeah, no, I get it. That makes sense. I was gonna say, what got you into I guess like what's your advice for someone that is trying to learn this stuff? Like how do you like I know you learn from hands-on training, but what's your advice for someone trying to I guess someone that's brand new to IT, trying to go into IT and they have no experience? Like what would be your advice for someone that is just trying to get into IT, has zero experience and that wants to learn?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think, you know, if you sort of want to get into IT, you know, that thought is coming from somewhere, right? That thought is coming from, I like tech, I like solving problems, I like working with computers, or in cyber, you know, I've heard about a few things, I've seen some YouTube videos, I'd like to be able to do that. And then all you have to sort of try to do is, you know, look for some YouTube videos that's really visual, it's really practical. There's some great ones out there. There's you know, Peter Bombal, there's Network Chuck, there's you, right? I find that works really well. And then definitely with IT and cyber, it's a very hands-on skill right now. It's very hands-on, whether you're doing you know, governance, risk and compliance, GRC policy, writing policy. I know people that really are good at doing that, but they have no tech. That's fine. Right, you just kind of, you know, try to sort of look for YouTubers, you know, do a search on YouTube for cyber, and, you know, start cyber beginners. There's a million YouTube videos out there, and then try stuff. You know, there's all kinds of websites that you can, you know, take a look at. You can even use AI to help you get ideas, right? I can, when we have a minute, I can show you some demos there if you like. But yeah, you just have to kind of figure out where you want to try to get started on your journey, and then you just have to kind of start doing stuff. And then once you start doing stuff,
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. To interrupt you, I agree with you 100%. That was me when I first started IT.
Yeah.
When I got my first job in IT, and my one of my jobs, and I talked about this a lot. One of my jobs, my manager's like, so am I gonna? And I said straight up to my manager, am I gonna get training? He's like, yeah, you're gonna get training, but we're gonna throw you to the wolves, right? So you're gonna have to learn how to swim tomorrow. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then my manager literally it's like you grabbing someone that does not know how to swim and you throw them in the water and then see if they learn how to swim. That's literally was my experience when I worked in my AT job.
Yeah.
And I had like I was thrown in the water. And I'm like, man, I don't know how to swim. But then my manager like threw like a life raft at me. He said, "Here,
yeah,
you figure it out, but I'm gonna give you something. Here you go. You figure it out." And then I slowly, for surely, learned how to do my job, and I was able to do my work. But like it was a process. Like it was not like one. It was like I learned everything in one day. And it's physically impossible for you to learn everything in one day, right? But my process was like that. Like he literally threw a life raft, and then said, "Okay, let's go over this. Let's go over that. Let's do this. Let's do that." And then I slowly became better at my job, and that's how a learning process works. Like when you're brand new, like you're gonna have a lot of information. You're gonna have a lot of questions, which is good because you're curious about stuff, right? When you're getting into IT, it's good to have curiosity, right? And those things are important because you're gonna go into IT job. You're new, right? You're gonna go into IT job, and you don't know fundamentals and stuff like that. But oh, what's TCP/IP? What's networking? How did that device get an IP address? How did that computer how do we know this computer is a home edition or an enterprise or a pro edition? How do we know this computer is blah blah blah? Like those things are very important to learn. And what I stress from my personal perspective is like try to learn fundamentals because when you're brand new, find someone you like that you can learn from, which is what Tom said. See what they do, see if they're a visual person or not. Figure it out, and then after that, learn the fundamentals, learn the basics of like operating systems, hardware, software. You don't want to go into something and then you don't know what you're doing, right? So try to learn the basic stuff first, and then once you do that, you should be okay. I'm going back based on my experience because I worked in a restaurant. I did not work IT. I actually did restaurant for almost 12 years, and then I'm like, man, I don't know what a mouse is. I don't know what a keyboard is. I don't know the difference between the North Bridge and the South Bridge, right? So those things are very important. Like when you're trying to get into IT, so just learn the fundamentals, and you should be okay after that. And you could go into more advanced stuff like cybersecurity or system admin or AI or whatever. Like those things are important. So I'm not sure, Tom, you want to add anything, but
yeah, I would say, the most important skill now, and what's different today as compared to like a year ago when ChatGPT first came out, right? The thing that's really cool now is that you can use AI to help you with all these things, right? So the key skills that anybody that's looking to get at any new field, and certainly IT, you need to start learning firstly how to sort of build some relationships, right? So to what you said earlier about saying, hey, I got to find some friends, I've got to find some online meetings I can jump on, like Kev's webcast, etc. Right? I need to start interacting with some people, and I also need to start developing some skills, and the skills can be learning how to troubleshoot a problem, or having an idea in your head and saying, hey, I'd really like to know more about networking. We'll check it out. You can actually go to AI, and Kev, I might take a run at doing a screen share in a minute, but you can literally ask AI now to say, what is networking? And it'll tell you. And then what you do is you go a little deeper. And then, you can certainly work on certifications, right? So certifications will help you. They will give you a bit of a leg up. But certifications without any actual practical experience aren't really going to help you that much. And the reason is, if you just have certifications, you've learned stuff from a book or an online course, if you get into the workplace and you can't demonstrate that you even know which connector on a computer is the network jack, you're not going to be that useful. Right? That's the real problem. And anymore, right? Anymore, employers don't have time to give like the coaching and journey, sort of like the way it used to be, right? Apprenticeship, right? The problem is people are so pressured for time anymore that the more useful you can be when you show up with some practical experience, the better you're going to be. And, I don't know, Kev, what do you think about all that?
No, I 100% agree with you. That's why when I do coaching calls and I do mentoring and I do training, like I do teach hands-on training, which is why I was hired by a college to do actual training in IT support, because they realized that their curriculum is not that good. They realized that their curriculum is very like beginner level, but not enough to get you a job. which is why I was hired, which was why I was hired for that college, because they realized that I have the actual experience and I know what goes on in the real world, right? When you go to an actual job, right?
Yeah.
Going to a college, it's good for you. It's good that you have a degree or a diploma or whatever. Any type of college is okay. It's good. But like if it doesn't teach you real world hands-on experience and doesn't teach you like to actually do your job, right? When you go for an actual job, and what's the point of having it, right? It doesn't really do anything, right? So that's why I was hiring one of my jobs, went to the college, because they know that I have experience. They know that I actually worked IT support. Oh yeah, Kev worked IT support. He knows what he's doing. We're gonna hire him. We're gonna have him actually teach stuff that he actually sees if he goes to a work environment. So yeah, those things are very important. Like getting the hands-on training in learning and my personal experience, Tom, that's how I got my job in IT support. One of my first jobs in IT support for an MSP company, a managed service provider. I got hired because I already knew half the job posting. When I went for a job, like the hiring manager's like, "Oh, this guy knows how he's doing. We don't even got to train him. He knows what he's doing." And I'm like, yeah, "I know what I'm doing." And they hired him, and they took a chance on me because I already had half the job requirements. So those things are very important when you're trying to learn. If that makes sense. So.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on a couple of things you said there, right? So firstly, they said they took a chance on you, right? And that's a really important point. If you reverse the role, you say you're a manager trying to be hiring somebody, you are taking a chance because you're making a decision to hire this person or that person, right? And so if you're the manager hiring somebody, you have to figure out, okay, what do I need the person I'm hiring? What do I need them to actually do? And then what are the chances that that person can either do it right away, or do they show the aptitude or the attitude to where they're willing to learn? Do they show that they're willing to be okay with trying stuff? Are they going to be the kind of person that will develop relationships and learn how to ask questions? Can they talk about how they use AI to help them do things like saying, hey, what's this Linux command or a Windows script for doing this and that? If you show up at an interview with those kinds of skills and the attitude, it doesn't matter exactly what you know, because IT changes every second almost, right? Especially with the AI stuff, there's stuff going on every day, right? So the main thing they're going to be looking for is, can you show some kind of a track record of getting into situations, being able to understand what's going on, talk about what are we trying to actually do, and then developing some sort of a plan to get to the result. And the plan doesn't have to be all on you, not at all, right? It could be like when I first started working at Cisco, Kev, one of the first things they taught me at Cisco employee onboarding, they said, listen, Tom, Cisco's big companies, like 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, whatever it was, right? They said, you will never know everything about all our products. You will never know that, right? But what we do want you to do is we want you to start working on building the human network, right? Start building relationships with different people in companies. Start be calling them. Look at the org chart, right? Walk the time back in the day, right? Walk the halls, talk to people. It's a bit more difficult now, but they said your job is actually to say, hey, I'm going to learn stuff, sure, but if I can't solve a problem in 5 minutes, then I need to be ready to talk to somebody who can either help me solve that problem or who can give me other ideas on how to solve the problem. Right? Because if you go to a manager and say, you know what, when I come to work at your company, right, I'm going to work on learning the environment from a technical perspective, but I'm also going to start working on learning and building relationships with the people. And by the way, because I'm in, let's say, Kev's community or what have you, check it out. I'm on his Discord channels. I can ask these guys questions. There are so many pro tips. This is what I'm doing. And I mean, you don't have to get the answers for what you're doing in your day-to-day job from your company. If you show up and say, yeah, I'm in all these communities, I'm doing some blogging, I'm asking questions, I know how to get answers for stuff, they're going to say, that's good, because then you're going to be useful and you'll do well, right? So
no, I 100% agree with you. Like I like you mentioned that, because it's very important that as someone brand new to IT, you have to have some sort of value, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these job recruiters or hiring managers, people that are actually in the job, that are hiring for these jobs, they're gonna be like, what do you know? Like, what can you do? And are you willing to like take the chance to, or the opportunity to learn and grow and actually Google the answer and do like, if you go to a job interview and they ask you a question and you don't know the answer to the question, right? And you just say, I don't know, like they're gonna look at you, really? Like, is that really the answer for they're gonna give me, like, I expected more than that, right? So it's very important that you have your community, and I talk about this a lot. Like, have a community of people that you could be around that is actually going to help you and actually bring you up when you're having a bad day, because we all have our days, right? So when you have a good community, that's why I talk to Tom, because me and Tom, like, we chat back and forth in our text messages, we message each other, and then I tried to be positive with him, and he tries to be positive with me. Because like at the end of the day, like you have a really good circle of people that are willing to help you or willing to be around you and stuff like that. Those things are very important. It's extremely important, because you don't want to be in a circle with negative people. Or as Ryan O'Connor, my brother buddy from New Zealand, he said, I don't want to be near negative Nancy, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be near negative people. So it's very important. You have a really good community. You're willing to take the time to learn and grow individually. Like, you take the time to say, I'm in this community, I'm in that community, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, how are you contributing, right? What are you doing? Because anyone could go to a job interview, but what are you actually doing? Are you taking the time to learn? Are you taking the time to grow? Are you doing certifications? Are you participating? Are you volunteering? Are you helping other people? Like, those things are very important. I'm not sure, Tom, if you want to add anything, but those things are very important. So.
Yeah, I actually think you're picking up on something really important, Kev. It's really, at the end of the day, right? It doesn't matter how smart somebody is and how much they know. If they're just unpleasant to be around, or if they're into like having an ego and, you know, kind of carrying that chip on their shoulder, right? It's like, yeah, they're really smart, but I'm like, I just, you know, I don't like the way the person is interacting with me. That ends up being the biggest problem and barrier to, you know, kind of being successful, right? Because but if you come with that open mind and open heart and say, you know, hey, you know, one of my big things here is I'm trying to contribute. You know, I love, you know, when you go to a job and you say, you know, I'd like to ask you, Mr. or Mrs. Manager, right? How can I contribute to what you're trying to do? Because you have already a million skills, you already have lots of experience, right? Whatever you're doing in your life. And you say, you know, hey, I'd love to find a way to contribute. What can I do? And then they'll tell you, right? And then you say, okay, great. I can contribute just by being a positive person. You know, say, you know, what were some things that have happened in the past? You know, you're speaking to the man. What were some of the things in the past that you feel have been challenging? And what are some of the challenges you have in the IT help desk department or what have you, right? And that what the manager will think, this is really cool because this is really thoughtful, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. And then you have to be sensitive that sometimes they may not want to tell you. And that's, you know, well, I don't really want to tell you what's wrong with their department, right? Okay, fine, whatever. But the thing is, you'll still make that impression that you're trying to help them. You're trying to contribute, you know. You also have to ask them to say, what can you do for me as the manager, right? And you might need to tell the manager, hey, you know, I know the basics of networking, but I feel like I'd like to maybe pair up with somebody who's a networking expert and start to work some projects. And the manager will think that's really cool because that person is now building that relationship. They're furthering their skills. They're honest about, you know, honesty is so important. They're honest about where they are right now and what they can do. And so I now, as a manager, let's say, can feel comfortable that I kind of know where this person's at, right? And a good manager will at that point start making a plan for you to help you move forward, right? And coach you. And, you know, that's what I think you're looking for as an employee as well, right? So.
No, I agree with you. Someone just wrote that they just got hired. They got hired for a job. They start next week, and they start on the 8th of next month, and they got hired because of their attitude. They had a great attitude.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's really good. Toto 2493528. Yeah. Nice.
And I talk about this, like, this is a conversation I have all the time with executives because I go to the CISO leadership conference every month. Every month. So every year I go to the CISO conference event. I get invited for free. I literally get invited for free because they like me. So I get invited for free.
Yeah.
And then I'm talking to a bunch of the executives and CISOs that I talk to that I'm buddies with. And they're like, and I ask them all the same question. They'll tell me, the same question. I'm talking about entry level jobs, not jobs I have experience. I'm talking about entry level. Like, can I work with you 8 to 5, or am I gonna strangle the living hell out of you? Those are the things that the executives tell me all the time. Like, are you someone that I'm willing to work with, or am I gonna kill you? Like, I don't want to be with you, right? So having the right attitude and the right personality is important, because you want to mesh well with the team, and they have to mesh well with you, right? It's like that conversation I had the other day. I made a post about this like a few months ago. It's like playing basketball, right? That you have the right chemistry with the right team that you're playing with.
Yeah.
And if we put you in a team, are you willing to mesh well with them, or are you gonna have a bunch of problems? Like, well, it's gonna happen, right? So those things are very important. And I don't want you going into a job and then they end up hating you. You end up hating them, right? That's like the worst thing that could ever happen, right? And you're miserable, right? Yeah. So those things are very important. I know at the time, look, you want to say something. So
yeah, I think kind of, you know, being honest with yourself, being honest with your manager. There are times when it just doesn't work out, and that's okay, right? Because there's always something else out there. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the tech employment market right now. It's like there's so much demand, but can't seem to get a job or whatever. But you know, if you're just in a situation, you know, one person told me one time, you have to kind of know when to persevere or keep pushing and keep going. You also need to start figuring out, when do I pivot, right? There comes a point, you know, when you're either in a job interview and you're like, this doesn't feel right to me. I just don't feel good about this. You know, that's a signal to pivot. You know, you're working in a situation that's hard, right? Really hard. And you're like, oh, I can't do it, or I don't want to do it, or this is making me feel bad. You have to say, well, I am going to persevere, but I'm also going to take a break. Right? And come back at it again, like later on today or tomorrow. And then you may also decide, hey, this is just too hard and I have to pivot. You know, pivot means sort of, you know, move, right? Go in a different direction, right? I'll give you an example, right? So check it out. So behind me over there is one of my computers with the purple fans right there. So you see it running down there over there in the corner. So I got this computer about a week or such ago, and I was like, I want to be able to change the color on these fans, right? I have no idea how to do, but I think you can do it. So I talked to the guy in computer shop who built it for me, right? And he goes, oh yeah, there's a tool for that called OpenRGB. And I'm like, cool. And then I went to try to download it, and you know, I know a little bit about Linux, right? I'm no by no means an expert, right? Not at all. But I just couldn't get this thing to work. I struggled for about, you know, an hour and more, and I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And then I made a decision. I do want to persevere. I'm not going to give up. So what I did is say, you know, now's the time for me to ask for help. And so I contacted a really good buddy of mine called Rory, and he goes, oh, yeah, you have to do this and that. And here's a different repo you can clone and whatever else it was. And pop, the thing worked. Right. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's about also just developing for yourself that skill of saying, you know, there are times when I have to keep pushing. There's times that I pivot and go in a different direction. There might be times where I have to stop doing something because it's just not working. And that's okay, you know.
No, that's funny. That's funny you say that, because that's my advice for someone when I do a coaching call, right? When I do a coaching call, I made a post about this on LinkedIn too a while back again.
Yeah.
When you see nothing is working for you, I'm talking about someone that's brand new, applying for a job or applying for an opportunity or going for a job or trying to land their first job in IT. Sometimes you need to take a step back from a different perspective, from a different point of view. You have to literally take a step back and look at it from a 360 point of view, like from every angle, right? And then look at it like, is it my resume? Is it my certifications? Is it how I talk on job interviews? Is it my personality? Yeah. What am I doing wrong? Which is why no one's giving me a chance. So you literally had to take a step back and look at everything you're doing and reflect on what you're doing. Yeah. And that is probably the reason why you're not getting hired. And that's my advice for someone that's brand new. When I mentor them, it's the same thing. Like, I literally got to take a step back. Same thing with troubleshooting. Take a step back. Like, what do you? And sometimes the funny part about that is for specifically for troubleshooting, right? We're going to change topics a little bit. From troubleshooting, sometimes if you take a step back and you take a break and come back to the actual issue, you spend 10 hours on an issue. Like, I'll give you a real example. Like me, I was working with a customer, IT support. I spent 10 hours on an issue. I could not fix it for a dear life of me. Then, for some odd reason, while I was sleeping, I figured out the problem while I was sleeping. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what the problem is now. I'm gonna do that tomorrow when I wake up. So then you, after 10 hours of troubleshooting, and then you actually get some rest, and you actually feel a lot better, and you're not freaking like brain fog, right? Your brain's not exploding, right? Because you're trying to troubleshoot this issue. After 10 hours, I woke up the next day. I'm like, oh, okay, I know what the issue is now because my brain is well rested now, right? And then I went to the actual job and I fixed the issue, and the customer was happy. And I'm like, man, I spent 10 hours on it when I knew the problem was only going to take me 1 hour. Like, what happened here? So, it happens. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I also sort of encourage people, kind of be in touch with how you feel emotionally about things, right? Like I at this point, I still have a little bit of, shame or guilt. I'm like, I should know how to do this. This is so stupid. Why can't I install this stupid software that can change the color of these fans? I feel like an idiot, right? And that's natural, right? That's people feel like that, right? But you also just have to be sensitive to it, and you have to make smart decisions. You have to also be comfortable saying, okay, I feel bad, feel like an idiot, but I'm also going to make a smart decision. And that's when I literally call in a favor with my buddy Rory, who's like this incredibly, like, totally like amazing guy. He was a data scientist. He does amazing things. And this is so far below his pay grade in terms of solving this kind of problem. So far below it. He's like a CTO and all this stuff, but he's a friend, and I help him with stuff. He's like, cool, Tom, check it out. Try this and that command. Pop, it worked. So it comes back to troubleshooting in an environment when you're getting stuck. Develop a plan for yourself. Say, hey, I'm going to give it this much time. If I can't do it in Cisco, 5 minutes. Other times, I got to the point the other night was I'd spent an hour trying to fix the thing that I use for control the lights on the computer. But I could install a open source large language model with Docker in like 5 minutes, no problem. Arguably much more complex, right? So that's, again, just sharing some stories about how I've dealt with things, and Kev's sharing stories about his. Those are kinds of the skills that you usually don't learn in the books or in the certs. They just don't teach that. The only way you can do that is by also interacting with people and trying stuff, right? So
yeah, and that's the other conversation I had with people, is telling everyone, like, don't. Because I interview, you guys know I interview Mike Myers, like the actual CompTIA book writer. I'm friends with him. And he said, don't be an island. That's one conversation we had. Said, don't be an island. So like when you feel like you can't do something, like reach out to other people that in your network to see if they can help you out. Right.
Yep.
You never know unless you ask for help. Right. Don't be afraid to ask for help, especially if you're stuck at something. So it's very important that you seek out help. If you're having some weird IT issue and you're like banging your head against the wall, like me, I'm banging my head against the wall, and I'm like, man, why is this not working? What the hell is this stupid app that not working for some reason?
Yeah.
And then you go and talk to your friend, and he's like, yeah, it's like a 5-minute fix. I got you, Kev. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah. But check it out. So the other cool thing on that, Kev, is, okay, so you've done, so you figured it all out. If you got stuck, you get, I am stuck, and you got some help and you fix it. Check it out. The next thing you do is you write a blog post, or you post what you learned, or I've created like hundreds of run books, like, run book where procedures, right? I hate it when I know I see software somewhere or utility and I go to install it, and there's always one little thing missing. There's something missing, or there's some knowledge that is assumed that you may already know, or that the person writing stuff. And so that's where you get stuck. But then if you figured it out, and then you pay it forward by sharing that knowledge, whether it's a quick YouTube video, whether it's a blog post, that way, you're passing that forward, right? I mean,
that's funny you mentioned that, Tom. That's also career advice I give to people that are new when I coach them. That's funny you say that, and because you know why? Because some people tell me, like, I don't know anything about IT. I don't know how can I contribute to people on LinkedIn when I don't know anything, right? And I tell everyone, if you spend 5 minutes on a stupid issue that you actually resolve, write a documentation on it and make a post on LinkedIn, and then add people on that post that you know that could actually like that post, or maybe they'll comment on that post and they'll be like, oh yeah, oh wow, Kev, you resolved that issue? I'm over here too, banging my head over here. I didn't know you knew how to fix that issue. Documentation right there. And then that actually gets you more people to follow you. Not only that, people will comment on your post, people will engage with you. And the other conversation about that too is, just because you've been in IT for 1 week or 2 weeks doesn't mean you know anything. Doesn't mean you don't know anything, right? You've been in IT for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You're learning, you're working on something. So you can make a post about that and what you're doing and what you're learning, right?
Yeah.
So you know something. Everyone knows something. Whether you've been in IT, you started in IT like a day ago or 2 days ago or 3 days ago, you could talk about that and put that on a LinkedIn post, and then people will engage with you. You never know, right? Unless you try. That's how I tell people that I train that are new to IT, how can they contribute to society or to LinkedIn, right? There's someone studying, like someone that I trained, they're new, they're studying the CompTIA A+. I'm like, okay, so some resources of what resources are you using to study for the A+, and post it on LinkedIn. Or post, what are you learning in A+? Like, what do you learn? Are you learning about operating systems? Are you learning about PCs? Are you learning about hardware? What are you learning? And make a post about it on LinkedIn and see who engages with you. So those are things that I teach, Tom. I tell people, like, you could contribute to LinkedIn and IT, and just in general, you could contribute to people. It doesn't matter how long you've been in IT. You can post about it. So that's what I tell people to do. So that's
I think again, the to kind of recap all of that, it's just, again, it's all about your attitude, right? And the thing is, you may not have been in a supportive environment where people have coached you or try to help you, like what we're trying to do here today, right? But the thing is, you have to take that step yourself. Nobody can, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You just can't. But if you're that person who says, hey, I'm thirsty, I'd like to be led to the water and I'm willing to take a drink, right? That will work. Or I'm willing to get in the pool. I can't swim and I don't want you to throw me in the deep end. That would be kind of stupid, right? But I'll get in the pool. I'll get in the shallow end where I can get used to being in the water. I'm going to walk around in the pool. I'm going to try learning how to float. I mean, I go swim in the pool a couple times a week. I see these little kids, right, coming in, even adults, right, coming in. They want to learn how to swim, but they're the ones that have to decide to step off the edge of the pool and get in the water. And nobody can force them to do that. Or at least if you force somebody to try to get in the pool, then the lifeguard will come and get you, right? It's not right. But you sort of, I like, Kev, what you mentioned about getting thrown in the deep end in the pool, right? There are times when you have more experience, you can get thrown in the deep end if you're cool with dealing with that. But don't feel like you have to put yourself in that position. Be okay with saying, hey, I want to learn how to swim. I want to do this and that. Just you have to make that decision to get into the pool. No one should force you, and nobody should force you to do that. And it's just,
I agree with you, Tom. And going slowly to your segue of me talking to you, this is very random. I see you wearing a polo shirt that says GT Cyber Labs. What is that?
Oh yeah. So I sort of, I like sort of sharing the knowledge, and I have my own company. I actually have 2 small companies, right? And I sort of started doing all this exploratory cyber work and doing these things. And I decided I really want to find a way to sort of share that, engage with the cyber community, right? So one of the things I do is I go to these in-person meetups. And then at one of these meetups, I met this teacher who was at a local high school. And he goes, and I was talking, he goes, so Tom, we have coaches that come to our schools and people from industry and this and that. What do you think about that? I said, sure, that'd be great. I'd like to, coach some kids on STEM and IT and tech. That sounds really good. I mean, and all that. And then I started showing up at the school and after school cyber club, and just encouraging the students and helping them learn stuff. And then it started to just, get more and more. And I've been doing that now for 2 years. And then I I had started a hosting company back in 2020 when COVID hit, and I had, worked with some buddies who built this open source hosting environment, and I got some clients, which was great. And then I sort of figured, I can now use this hosting environment as a cyber range. So I created some course material, and Kevin, you and I work on some course material as well there, but it sort of snowballed, right? And then I decided, hey, I'm going to start my own meetup. And so we have the North Virginia Cyber Meetup. And so this whole thing is kind of continued to evolve. And now really the GT Cyber Labs, it's a non-profit organization. So I said, hey, a lot of these schools and things are funded by grants and this and that. And they want to work with non-profit organizations, right? A lot of schools themselves are non-profit, right? It's not about enriching people. It's about running the school program, right? It's not that you can't make money in a non-profit. That's not the point. But now what I've been doing is, creating products and services that help with education. And so this whole GT Cyber Labs thing is really my non-profit organization where I continue to build all these products and services, do all these networkings, run this meetup, having a platform that I can use to help support these folks. And then these schools are starting to say, hey, Tom, we like what you're doing. We like you. We like the products you've invented, your home lab kits. And now I have this private AI platform thing that we've started to test with some of the school kids and others. And it's sort of like started out with this idea of helping other people. And it's sort of, I don't know, man, it's just kind of taken on a life of its own, really. It's kind of, through this, I got to know Eric Bellata from Races and met it with Kev. It just kind of, I don't know, man. I don't know what you call that, but.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, is your local meetups free?
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, we have sponsors that pick up the cost for pizza and stuff, and we have people that donate the locations. So it's about encouraging networking and, there's not, for things like that, I don't really like the idea of charging people money. Like when you charge people money, it's got more, in that point, there's a time where that's appropriate. Like if you're providing very structured training or a course or a class, okay, fine. Okay, you have to cover costs. But there's ways of just having a meetup that's there for, sharing information, networking. And then what happens is when you're going to these meetups and you're running a meetup, you start meeting a lot of people. And then you go offline, say, okay, offline, can I meet with you next week and talk about some business? Sure, Tom, or sure, whoever is at this meetup. We've gotten to know you. That's cool. We're in a neutral place. And then you have a discussion about a job or working together, right? And that's all part of it, right? So.
No, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And me and Tom are working on something right now. So, just so you guys are aware, we're actually providing a home lab kit, in a course, in a entry level course, and we're also providing. I actually will train you. So I'm doing training. Me and Tom are going to train you. Tom's going to train you in AI stuff, and I'm going to train you, on IT support stuff. So Tom's going to be providing a PC hardware kit. Yeah. That you could take home with you, and you could set up Proxmox or VMware or whatever on your PC, on that PC that we gave you. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if Tom wants to share his screen, but you can go over some stuff real quick.
Yeah, totally right. Yeah, totally. I'll just let me just get this.
Yeah, so me and Tom are working on like some hands-on training stuff that we could provide to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically what we're doing. And we're going to give you actual hardware that you actually could set up from scratch.
Yeah.
Or if not, we could put something on it. So.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I think I can share here without blowing this thing up. Yeah. Are you seeing that, Kev? Are you seeing the?
Yeah, I see it. I have to put it on my screen. Give me a second.
Sure.
I see it. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, so this is the page for our online store, right? So store.gtcyberlabs.org there. This is the KevTech IT training kit with portable home lab kit, right? So you might go, oh my gosh, $489, that's a lot of money. Well, check it out. You actually get physical hardware, right? So you get, with the kit, you get this, right? You get the mini computer. So this is actually one of my goals with trying to develop this training resource was to keep the costs down, right? So this is a refurbished HP mini computer. It's really solid. It's got a USB stick, so you can create build USBs. Obviously in the packet, so it's not got viruses. It's brand new. An NVMe drive here you can install. There's some little screwdrivers and such with it. What you do there is you literally do some physical hands-on, right? And you physically install it. We've got instructions on how to do all of that. This is basically what it looks like once it's all assembled. It's pretty handy. What's cool about this too, it's portable, right? So you could actually use it at home, and if you're going to somebody's house, you can bring it with you and go, hey, here's my home lab kit. And check it out. You go for a job interview, you go, hey, here's my home lab kit. Here's what I brought. If you like, we can light up, power it up, and I can show you some of the projects I built, right? For example, and then we show you how to install Proxmox, which is a totally excellent open source hypervisor. That's just showing you connectors. And then the thing that it also comes with, which down here you'll see, is the training program from Kev and I, right? So this shows you all what's in the box, all of that. And then Kev is going to have some separate training that we're going to do on a training platform.
Yeah, I'm gonna be covering basic operating systems like CompTIA A+ stuff, like basic IT stuff, because I don't want to give you this and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, so you do some training. But Tom, so I had a question for you. How do you join the local meetups if they live in your area?
Oh, sure, yeah. So you just go. This is going to be pretty random because I don't really know what's going to pop up. But you go to the site called meetup.com, right? So check it out. So what you do is you search event. You might say IT, information technology, or IT, cyber, and then you put in your zip code. Like in my case, my zip is 20175, right? Leesburg, Virginia. Do a search. Check it out.
Then people are excited about the collab. Like, oh wow, you guys are working together. People are putting in chat. They're excited about that.
Oh great, yeah. I guess you can't see the chat. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but yeah. So check it out. So thanks. Yeah. So anyway, you can do some things here like filter on distance, like I don't know, 25 miles. And then what you see here is, check it out. Here's my Nova meetup scheduled for January 25th, right? This is cyber threat landscape skills you need, right? 8 attendees, fine. We haven't promoted it, but go to meetup.com. You'll be surprised. Like if you go to Kev, you're in like Brooklyn, New York, right?
Yep.
This is totally random. Who knows what will pop up, right? All right. So see, you see here, right? You see a lot of events. These meetups are intended to help people meet each other. So the people there are going to be friendlies. I don't know, Kev, were there other ideas you had for
it's free, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's free. Yeah, if you
because people look at me like I have 3 heads when I say it's free. Like, what? It's free? Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, check it out. So if you go on my site, gtsublabs.org, this is some of the stuff that we do at our meetup. So these are some guys from B-Sides, Nova. Actually, this is me showing some stuff in the school there. But the other thing is, and Kev, we should blog about this research, but there's also for cyber.
There's like B-Sides New York, B-Sides Philly, B-Sides Chicago, B-Sides whatever, and it's cheap. It's relatively cheap.
Yeah, well, these B-Sides events are like local cyber events. They're all around the world. Check it out. They're everywhere, right? And this is, again, part of the pro tips of being on the channel and what have you. You can go to this B-Sides thing and you can find local events. I know, Kev, I know we're kind of coming up to an hour, and I know probably people are getting kind of ready to go to the store for Christmas and all, but is it okay if I cover off on the AI thing I built?
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about is that you may have heard about open source LLMs, right? So what's really cool now is you can actually download open source large language models, right? And they come from a place called Hugging Face. It's very, very weird. I have no idea where this came from. So what you can do now, this is a legit site, right? So what you can do here is you can download these large language models. You see here, there's like over 443,000 open source large language models available. What you do is you download it, and then you need to run them on some software to be able to talk to the model, right? So there's the model, it's like the engine, and then you need the software to talk to the model. And so what I've done here is I've partnered with the guys at Bionic GPT. I want to totally give a shout out to them. Ian Purton and Dio. Those guys are rock stars, and they've been really helping me get this thing working. And what this does, again, this is free and open source. If you go to GitHub here, this is where this is their page right there. You download their code here. It's actually really easy. They just have a couple of Docker Compose YAMLs. And again, if you're new to all this, don't sweat it. I have posts on my website talking about all this, which I'll show you in a minute. But what that will then allow you to do is actually run a private ChatGPT type experience. And the reason why privacy is important is that when you use these public AI services, you know that anything you put in there is over there and gone forever, and they'll use that information to train their models. And you don't know what can possibly happen at some point in the future. If you accidentally put something there that's confidential or sensitive, it could suddenly appear in somebody's query or search, right? So there's a big push to learn these types of skills, how to run, private LLM models. And I put a lot of focus on this in the last couple of months and really learned it. And then the idea is that, what I want to do is offer people the ability to, figure out their use cases, find the right LLMs. These models have all different kinds of tuning and fine tuning that people have done to them, right? Depending on the category of what they're doing. We then run it on the Bionic GPT software, right? This is what it actually looks like. It's pretty slick, right? It's 1 second, I'll show you here. So let's say, how do I get into IT or cyber? It's totally random. Let's just see, right? See how fast that is, Kev? It's sweet, right? And it's actually that model is actually running on this thing, that big box behind me there. It's just running on a single GPU there. And then the cool thing here is in terms of privacy, because it's running on my private server, it's not going out to the internet to get anything from the internet, right? You can run that without being physically connected to the internet at all. It's all running locally in the machine. And then also what I've got here is that it has a database, a Postgres database, where it logs all the chats and responses and who's doing what, right? So for example, I'm just going to run this query. And by the way, I personally found SQL, this is SQL query, right? I found it very confusing. I'm not a database admin, but I know how to use AI. So I looked at the tables in the database. I said, hey, what I want is I want to run a query here that shows you when the thing was created, what's the ID of the query, I've done 37 queries in this case, what's the status of stuff. And I used Claude AI actually to help me write the query. I knew what I wanted to do, and I got tools to help me do it. And this guy, Dio over at Bionic, he actually helped me get started with this. And once he helped me get started, I learned how to do it myself. But in this case, this is the little play button. We'll play the query, right? Okay. And check it out. See how that question, see how the question I just put into it just came out there? User request. That's how do I get an IT or cyber? And then see way over here, there's the response, right? It's just kind of like formatting, but
that's cool. That is cool.
So check it out. So now, right? Firstly, guys, I really want to encourage you all to learn how to do this. And I've got blog posts I'll show you here in a minute. But if you can learn these skills, if you can download this open software, you can install it on a computer that does not have a GPU. It will work. It'll be slow, but it'll work. If you show up with those skills and can speak of doing these things, you're suddenly going to leapfrog everybody, right? Because then also what you can do is you can go to here, right, and say, how do I patch a Windows server, right? So check it out. If you were doing this even at home, if you could run the local LLM yourself if you want to, but you can also use ChatGPT or Claude AI. I personally really like Claude AI, to be honest. But if you start learning how to do these things, this is called prompting a model. as the language that is prompting, right? Then you have this AI here to help you. Now the AI won't always be right, and sometimes AI does what they call hallucinations, where it'll make stuff up, right? So but AI will help you get going.
But Tom, you said that with our collaboration, you're going to do some training with the IT support guys on how to use AI a little bit, right?
100%. I mean, if anyone has a question, right? If anyone has a question out there on the chat, in terms of something they'd like me to try to run, then have at it. I mean, I don't know, Kev, I can't see the chat, but is there anyone that might have a question that?
No, they just commented that AI is difficult to fully grasp and learn. So it's interesting that you're actually going to teach that. That's what basically the comments are.
Okay.
Because some people don't know how to use AI, so it's good to know that you're actually going to teach something like that.
Yep. So I would say, out of all the stuff we talked about, learning how to do what's called prompt engineering, and which means basically learning how to prompt a model, right? What is prompt engineering, right? So you can look for all these things here, right? Prompt engineering. You can ask the model itself, what is prompt engineering, right? And it'll tell you. And then I'll give you another couple of pro tips here. In this tool from Bionic, there are actually ways to configure the prompt, right? So I'll show you this here, right? You can't do this on ChatGPT. The only thing you can do there is sort of craft prompt formats and things, but you're still locked into the proprietary model, which is not open source. You can't tune it or do anything with it. But in this case, it's pretty nice because you can run a prompt against a data set, right? So you can upload documents.
People are getting like, is this coming from the Hugging Face? People are the question.
The model, yeah. So the models are coming from Hugging Face, right? So you pick a model. Like a guy that makes really good models is this guy called the Bloke. It's kind of an interesting name, right? So here's the Bloke's homepage, right? Oh wait, it's going to the Mixtral model. 1 second, you do this. Right, here's his homepage. I highly recommend. I do follow him. It's just I'm not logged in on my browser right now. But you check it out. He's got like 3,000 something models here, and there's all these different kinds, right? And then this is where you can get it. Now, if you go to Bionic GPT here, when you run the install here, like what you're doing basically is you're going to download these YAML files. Like some of you may not be familiar with the YAML files, but they're basically let's see. Basically, they are. Bionic. Let's see latest.
Someone was asking, can Tom share the blog post on the AI thing he is using?
Totally. 1 moment, I'll do it right away. Good question, by the way. See, this is cool. You're going to ask them the questions. Probably been yakking for too long, right? So here's the running local Bionic GPT. I actually used ChatGPT to create. That's a pretty cool image. I used the ChatGPT actually to create this image. It does a good job. So this is my blog post right here. I don't know, Kev. I don't know.
You can send it to me on LinkedIn chat or send it to me in chat here. There should be a chat somewhere on email then.
Yeah. So again, this is like the guys at Bionic, Ian and Dio. They really helped me out. This might look a bit imposing, right? But and it took us a while to figure all this out. But the idea now is that we're sharing this knowledge, and then if you follow these procedures here, you can install it. In this case, this is for the GPU workstation. I'm actually going to update this, Kev, because
I found the website. I just copied and pasted. I'm gonna send it over in chat.
Yeah, yeah, it's really easy though. It's actually really easy. So please also provide me with feedback if you find this confusing. And I'll update this. But this basically, there's 2 YAML files you download here. The Docker Compose here. This one here is the main one. And all you do is you install Docker Compose on your computer. I highly recommend Linux because it's more stable and all that stuff. This one here, this YAML file here, that's for if you have a GPU, and then it'll configure it'll load the model into the GPU. And then when you see this Docker Compose file, right? You see here on here, Kev, I've got the Docker Compose files. If I do cat docker compose.yaml, right? Now you see what's in here. I don't know if you guys can see this on the screen. You know, some of you may be familiar with YAML and Docker, some may not. Doesn't matter.
Mind you, Tom is not a very technical person. He learned this from scratch. Like I'm talking about like the AI stuff. Like you learned it from
dude. Yeah, dude. The way to look at AI is kind of I just forgot. I lost my window. Which one am I doing? The cat one, not that one. Oh well, whatever. I'll open a new one. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Oops. Yep. Latest. All right. I'm just going to expand this out a bit. But the short version here is that if you just run this Docker Compose file, you will. 1 second. The thing will basically install itself, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the YAML file. So the cat command in Linux, of course, just shows you what's in the file. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, but check it out. You don't have to do anything with this. All you do is run, sudo docker compose space docker compose.yaml, and the whole thing installs itself, and it will actually install a model for you. It'll install this one here. Where is it? Yeah, wherever it is in the YAML here somewhere. It installs the default model. So out of the box, it'll start to work. And then all you do is you go to the web UI and you log in, you set up a little username and password and pop you into the model, right? You're doing stuff. And then this stuff here I'm doing with this SQL thing with the Postgres database. That takes just a little bit extra setup, but again, it's pretty easy. And I'm going to have some blog posts on that too. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing you can do here as well here is, if you go on the Git for the Bionic guys, if you go to discussions here, you'll see I've posted a bunch of stuff in here, like how to install it on a bare metal host. There's discussions going on here, right? And then there's issues, open issues, where you can log issues. Like I've posted a bunch of things there that you'll see, and then this and that. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend you do it, and we'll be talking about that more on the channel. But yeah, Kev, was there anything else? Any questions anybody had on that, or?
No, they're just one of the URLs and links to where it is. I sent it already, so we're good.
Yeah.
Let me know if you want to stop sharing, and I'll take it out of the screen.
It's enough sharing here.
Okay, I'll stop sharing it.
But stop sharing now. Yeah.
But yeah, Tom, because we've been here for over an hour now. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
Firstly, want to thank you, Kev, for having me on the channel. It's a pleasure, and I really appreciate it. And the idea is just to stay positive and to try to keep moving forward. And when you get stuck, then figure out how to persevere or pivot. And get some help when you need help. That's all, No,
that makes sense. That makes sense. Guys, I hope you guys have a great day. If you guys have any more information, or you guys have a question for Tom, I'm going to put all his contact information on the video below in the description of the video when the video is done rendering. I'm going to put all his information there.
Yeah.
If you want to work with us, I'm going to put the actual link to the actual Cyber Labs website and everything below in the description as well. Yep. I'll let you guys go, but I'm not letting Tom go because I'm going to talk to him behind the scenes. So
hit me up, guys. Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn, please, and just hit me a message. No problem. I'll respond to it. If anyone wants some coaching or some training, hit me up as well. We can work that out. If anyone wants help with installing private LLMs, let me have at it too. I do consulting around that too. So.
Yeah, like I said, Tom has a lot of free resources, so you could definitely reach out to him for training. He has a lot of free resources for CompTIA and stuff like that. So definitely recommend you reach out to him if you have a question about something.
Thanks.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.